What is good, y'all? It's your boy Kia Orion, the man who is obsessed with making dope music and teaching you how to make your own. And in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to make vocals like this.
Before it's said and done, hitting some licks. Before it's said and done, watch me, I'm laying the bricks. Before it's said and done, no, I'm not aiming to miss. Gotta make the shots if you want it, that's why they exist.
If that sounds dope to you, stick around and we're going to show you exactly how to do it, all the knobs and switches that you have to tweak in order to make it happen. But if you want to get the template, you can check it out in the description below. I'll have that posted up so that way you can just buy it if you don't want to worry about it and just throw it on and make your vocals sound dope. Without further ado, let's jump into the computer and I'll show you exactly what it takes to make this sound. See you there. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another tutorial with your boy. I want to show you how to make J. Cole type vocals, and in this track, this is going to be remodeled after J. Cole's song Closer, but because of copyright, I can't play it, so you're just going to have to take my word for it, or excuse me, Close, off of his new album, The Off Season. So this is how we're giving it up. I kind of remade a beat somewhat similar, and this is what the vocals sound like with the template enabled.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt.
This is what it sounds like without the template.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself.
With the template.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings.
So if that sounds good, pretty much this is what it looks like when it's enabled a bunch of different things that I've automated to these different macros. But I'm going to walk you through it step by step what each of these is and what every single one of these does, so that way you can use it to control your own voice. So again, that sounds good. Check it out in the description below and let's jump into it. So the first thing that we're going to do with this template that I want to walk you through is the EQ. So this is going to be an EQ. This is a very general EQ. This is the REQ6 that I'm using from Waves, and all of these are in the Waves Gold Bundle. So if you look at this EQ knob, actually let's bring this down here so you can see what's going on. If you look at this EQ knob, as I push this up, it changes because I cut out a lot of the low end down here. And then this is kind of a place where there's a lot of kind of boxy sounds, boxy vocals, at least in my vocals. And I tend to see this at least a lot in male vocals around in this area. There's kind of a pain point, and then you're going to get a little bit of boost in the highs as well. So that's what this EQ is doing. But what I also recommend is, so put this on, don't go too crazy. This is what it sounds like with it.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him.
You lose almost a little bit too much of your low end there.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings.
So that really kind of helps you clear up your vocal there. But this is where the EQ magic happens, is on this next piece of the channel. And as you can tell on every single one of these macros, when it's off, when it's all the way down, I have it so that's actually turned off, and then there you go. And then when you turn it on, it enables it. This next one that says face, this is going to be your SSL channel EQ. So here's the thing. This is the one, I put the macro here on your, can I make this one a little smaller? I'm trying to see all my joints. All I've done here is automate for this one, for the face, is the threshold, because this is going to be kind of how upfront and present the vocal is. And in the J. Cole song, when I listened to it, his vocals had a lot of compression, and they have some other effects and things like that, but they're rap vocals, so they're very heavily compressed. So as you can tell here with this threshold knob, what you're looking for is when you enable this face macro, you're going to see these lights light up, and you're going to see how much gain reduction you're kind of getting on this SSL channel. But at the same time, when you enable this SSL channel, you're getting this EQ. And these EQs, you're going to want to EQ a little bit for your own voice. So I'll show you kind of what that looks like. But this is EQ'd for my voice, so just as a heads up, the way that I like to EQ my rap vocals is I like to take out a lot of the low end when I'm EQing, and then I'll bring that back in with the compression. So if you listen to the vocal without this enabled and enabled, it's a big difference. So this is without it.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself.
This is with it.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself.
So you hear a lot of that kind of the bassy, boxy frequencies were taken out. And so what I did was, this is when I'm EQing a vocal, I'll do these pieces without the beat, which is why I'm doing them without the beat here. And so I'm gonna boost this all the way. So watch your ears, and you'll kind of see these frequencies that I've removed from this SSL channel.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's
Like,
a mindset shit.
That boxy sound, I don't dig that. So that's what I'll do is I'll boost these all the way, and then I'll find that sound that I don't like somewhere in there, and then I'll remove it.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself.
Same here. This is pretty much this is your cue. This is doing the exact same thing as this EQ. It just looks a little bit different. This is your cue is pretty much how wide or not that band is. If that doesn't make a lot of sense, don't worry about it too much. We'll figure that out. But that's why I've kind of left these. You can't do too much damage if you don't know what you're doing, but I would recommend jumping in here and experimenting, boosting these volumes up and seeing what you don't like to hear in your own voice.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself.
So here I'm just taking out more boxy frequencies again.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift.
And watch your ears. This is a frequency I hate. There's a pain frequency around like 3K.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that.
Not about that. So that's pretty much the EQ piece of this. Another thing, just a few things going on here, is I have a fast attack enabled and so that'll come with the template as well. You can turn that off if you don't want it, but the ratio for the compression is about 4:1. Not a ton, but also you're getting some compression here. What you want to know is you want to shoot for this 3 light to be lit up and possibly the 6, but you don't want to be pushing it to 10 here because we're just kind of catching the peaks with this vocal.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing.
So you can see how this 3 light is triggering. That's cool. We can always come back to this. So that's the first part, is we want to kind of get the EQ and a little bit of compression. Now that our vocal, it's sounding a lot thinner, right? It's like we've taken out a lot of the lows, and since we've boosted some in the highs because it's REQ6, the S's are really starting to bother me. So the next piece that we add is the de-esser. So that's what we're going to jump into next. Okay, so again, what the main point of the way that this is built out is the same way that I EQ vocals. I start with control first. I want to make it sound good first, and then we can start to add the fun stuff later on. That's just my approach. That's the way that I learn. Take out all the crap, and then we can get into the fun stuff later. So the next piece when it comes to control for me, now that we've had a little bit of compression, we've added a little bit of boost in the highs with the EQs. We want to take out some of those S's, those harsh S frequencies. So when you turn on this de-essing knob, if you notice, it's enabling 2 different pieces of the de-esser. I like to have one here in like the middle of the chain that's doing some work, but I also like to have one doing some light work at the end of my chain after all of the effects and things are going on. So when you turn this on, boom, both of your de-essers are being enabled, and I'll show you what I'm doing here and what I automated. So I've actually reversed these if you look at the edits, if you look behind the scenes, what I've done with these de-essers is I've actually reversed the knobs. So if that doesn't make any sense, don't worry about it. But pretty much as you're turning this up, you're getting more de-essing and compression. With both this first one, this Waves de-esser, as well as this sibilance knob, if you look at them, as you turn this up, you're getting more de-essing, and de-essing is pretty much just compression, but it's very specific. And I've also limited this de-esser, this sibilance, this one on the end of the chain, so that way, even if you boost this all the way, this isn't gonna like kick in super duper hard. And I've left some customization for you, which I'm gonna talk about here in a minute. Anyways, what you want to look for in this de-esser is you don't want it to sound like you have a lisp, but you also want to make sure that, it's when I was listening to the J. Cole vocal, it's very controlled. And a lot of rap vocals are. Drake's vocals, you listen to them, the S's, they aren't popping out too crazy. So if you watch, you're going to see this kind of this is really going to kind of latch onto those S's and those T's as it's playing.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing plates now, betting real stakes now. My whole life for the shit.
So when I went here, it was almost, I felt it was almost too much. And so I just dialed it back a little bit.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift.
Sounding a little lispy, but for me, I'd rather go have it a little bit more lispy and controlled than having it be too bitey and like painful to listen to. So that's what's going on with your de-essing. And again, you can come back. Here's what I recommend if you want to do more or less. At the end, after you've ever done everything, I'll talk about this a little bit later too, you can mess with this knob. This is pretty much the same as this knob here for it. It's the threshold knob for this one is this big joint. And so as you can tell, as I move this up and down, it'll like clamp more or less on the vocal. But what this is telling you, this range, is it's telling you, or you're telling it, how much you want it to compress. So if you're like pushing this pretty hard at the end of your chain and it's still not doing what you want it, you can bring this down a little bit and it'll clamp on it more. Or if you're sounding super lispy, I left this here customized for you, so you can bring it up and it'll have a little bit of a less effect. But for me, I found like somewhere in like the 12 range tends to work.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings.
See, you can see I'm not doing a ton here. It's small movements. So we're going to continue on with the de-essing and compression stage. This is an RVox. And this is going to be enabled when you turn it on. And what I've done here is I've automated the compression and the gain together so that the more you compress, the more it's going to bring the gain down. So just be aware of that. What I shoot for is I've already done a little bit of compression here. I know I'm going to be doing some more compression there. So again, I'm kind of wanting this to bring the vocal out, really start to bring it some more control, but not anything super crazy. I'm not cranking this all the way. I'm probably shooting for maybe like a good rule of thumb is when you see it kind of doing this gain reduction in here, less than this -6, but maybe somewhere in that area.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing plates now, betting real stakes now. My whole life for the shit. I'm out the cage now. Hopped out the matrix. Still got the ace. How? The house of cards that I built.
And as you're going, listen whatever song that you want to sound it like. So when I was building this template out, I was listening at the same time to the J. Cole song back and forth. So I'd play this, like I'd play that vocal and say, okay, this is something too. You don't want to do this whole thing in a vacuum. So I'd start to place with the beat.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that.
And the vocal's really quiet right now because we're taking everything out. And the next step will boost it so you'll be able to hear it better. So don't sweat it. But that's what I recommend as well for you, is to start to like just A-B, go back and forth. Listen to whatever the song is that you're shooting for, if it's a J. Cole song, whatever, and really listen to his vocal and say, okay, and dial it in. Am I getting closer? Each step, think about listening to what he's doing and then dialing your own template into that. So
came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself.
That sounds good to me. And so we've done that bit of compression. And then the next piece is we're going to do a little bit more compression in terms of bringing up the volumes and getting it to kind of like glue with the beat, which is why I call it glue. And then also controlling it a little bit more, because as we kind of build this vocal and we're adding compression, certain things kind of start to stick out that are no bueno. So let's jump into that. So this piece is when we're going to really start to bring some of our volume back. So hopefully you did some gain staging at the beginning of your track, so that way your volumes were already kind of in the ballpark that you wanted. But now that we've done these cutting, these different pieces of EQ, we started to lose kind of the real volume of the vocal. And so this is where this bad boy comes in. At least for me, I like to bring back some of the volume in this kind of last piece of compression. So with the glue, the reason why I call it glue is because this isn't a compressor. Yes, it's compressor, but I don't have it in this compression stage because I'm not actually doing a ton of compressing here. I'm doing this more as like a light bit of compression to get it to kind of glue with the beat. So what does all that mean? That means as you push this knob up, as you can tell, there are two things happening. The threshold is coming down and the attack is being pushed up. But this will stay. You can adjust this to how you want the ratio of compression here. For me, I don't like to have this last bit of compression because my last piece, I don't like to do a ton of compression in this part. Anyways, this is where the attack, this is going to be how fast the compression kind of latches onto the vocal. And so I'm shooting for just a little bit of compression here, and the threshold is kind of telling it when to trigger, which you'll see.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing.
And so at this point too, or you want to play back with your beat.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself.
And we're going to want to boost our gain. This is when I bring back the volume. This is when we bring back the volume, at least for me in my track, if I've started to really cut stuff out. So check it out.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing plates now, betting real stakes now. My whole life for the shit, I'm out the cage now. Hopped out the matrix, still got the ace high. The house of cards that I built never came down. Yeah, I got a couple of dreams I'm keeping and still believing. Almost took him out, I'm grateful I'm still breathing. In it too deep, I'm sorry I ain't leaving. If I listen to the world, I think I'm here for a reason. Here for a minute.
So what I'm listening for is kind of how loud the vocal is to the beat. And again, be it with your reference track, whatever it is that you're listening to in the song Close, but the J. Cole joint, it's it sounds like it's loud and it's up front and he's got this kind of cool soul sample going on. But what I'm realizing, and this is what I also built into the template for you to add or not, his vocal, my vocal right now, it's sounding a little bit too kind of sharp is maybe a bad word, but I've added the C4, which as you can tell is doing only more controlling. So now that we've boosted the volume up, there were more frequencies I didn't like. And so that's what this C4 is in here. This C4 is in here for you. This is not to a macro. This is for you. If you don't know much about a C4, figure it out because this is a really powerful tool. Watch some tutorials on it. This will be unique for your voice. You can turn it on or off. It's nothing super crazy, but if I A/B it back and forth, you'll realize how much it just kind of just controls. I find this is a real problem area for a lot of DIY recordings because this is where a lot of your room noise is going to be, this like low rumble that just like you don't really need. And so I'm just kind of taming these more now that I've boosted things. So check it out.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing plates now, betting real stakes now. My whole life for the shit, I'm out the cage now. Hopped out the matrix.
It just feels like it kind of evens the vocal out a little bit more with it engaged. And so as well, when you're doing this volume stuff, when you're adding this, make sure you're playing the beat because your vocals, again, don't exist in a vacuum. It's how they are going to gel and mesh with the beat while it's playing because that's really the only thing that matters.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on.
Cool. That sounded good. It's coming along. Next, we get into the fun part. We're going to do the effects. So now we're going to jump into the effects piece, this parallel split. The parallel split, I don't have engaged to any of these macros, so you're just going to have to turn it off and on. What is going on here? So a couple different things. Well, actually, a lot of different things. When I was listening to the J. Cole joint, he had actually a decent amount of reverb. His vocal sounded pretty wide. And there was a little bit of delay. So that's kind of what I've added here. I've also added two things that you can add if you want to get fancy, but they aren't to a macro. So what is going on? Parallel split, we're going to turn it on. We're also going to just take it one piece at a time. The first one is this delay. Well, actually, the first one is technically this eighth delay, which you can turn on and adjust if you want. But for the song that I was shooting for, I put it in there and I toyed around with it, couldn't get it to fit. I said, actually, this is not what I want. What I wanted was a fourth delay. A fourth delay, if you don't know what a parallel split is, pretty much in Studio Rack, this means you have your dry signal, which you can affect directly, and then you have a parallel split, meaning it's coming along parallel, and this one you can add a bunch of different things and effects to, and then you can kind of blend this one into your main dry vocal without it affecting your dry vocal. If that sounds confusing, look up parallel compression is a great one, and just kind of look up parallel processing in general, but take my word for it. What we're doing is, when we have this one engaged, this parallel split, the knobs that you really want to focus on are these knobs, these little dry wet knobs. And as you can tell, these red ones I have mapped to the macros. So this delay knob, if you watch, whoop, as you push it up and down, this is the dry wet signal. So as I play this, and this part, you definitely want to play along with your beat, because this might sound great soloed.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him.
You're like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. And then you bring your beat back and you've lost all of the effects. So play this one back with your effects, with your beat. And I also recommend having it being kind of exaggerated and then bring it back to where you want. Because otherwise you're just going to stay in here for a long time and trying to figure out like, wait, can I hear it yet? Can I not? Go overboard. Bring it back.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing plates now, betting real stakes now. My whole life for this shit. I'm out the cage now.
Cool. That sounds good to me. Again, this is modeled after the Cole song, so I was kind of had that in mind. This next reverb, I don't have mapped to a macro. This is a plate verb. A plate verb, very subtle. This is what a plate verb just pretty much puts a vocal in a room. Drake uses these a lot. In this J. Cole song, a lot of rap songs, it just helps your vocals almost feel like they're more in a space. And so I'm going to A-B it back and forth without the beat so you can actually see what's going on.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt.
Just kind of helps it, puts it in a little bit more of a space. So that sounds good to me. This next piece is the long reverb, which I have mapped to a macro here. J. Cole in this song actually has a decent amount of reverb. He'll drop the beat out at certain points, and you can hear the reverb specifically. And depending on how vocals, I feel like, are moving towards a more dry vibe, but these actually add a bit of reverb. So this is the same thing. This is a R verb, but it's a different type. This is a Hall 1 preset. But you can come in here and mess with the effects if you want to get it to be longer or not. But the only thing that you're affecting with this knob is the dry wet part. So this is, again, you want to play back with a beat and dial into taste.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing plates now, betting real stakes now. My whole life for this shit. I'm out the cage now. Hopped out the matrix, still got the ace high. The house of cards that I built never came down. Yeah, I got a couple of dreams I'm keeping and still believing.
All right, and then last but not least, we got this doubler. Simple Waves Doubler 2. I took the direct line out because we're just using this for parallel processing. And again, if you look at the macro here, all you're doing is the dry wet. And this is something that, again, you want it to be like felt and not heard. Like you want it to just kind of beef up the vocal, but not it be super apparent.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself.
You don't want to sound like you're in a metallic tube.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing plates now, betting real stakes now. My whole life for this shit. I'm out the cage now. Hopped out the matrix, still got the ace high.
Cool. That sounded good. That sounded good. And then this last piece, if you want it, is a meta flanger to really add some more width to the vocal if you want. But when I listened back to the Cole joint, it didn't, I felt like I got the sound I wanted with this doubler. So this is in here if you want it. Some people like to go get their vocals sounding super wide. If you want to use it, you won't change the effects or anything like here. It's the default preset. You just would affect this knob if you wanted even wider sounding vocals.
Came to myself, I ain't jaded myself. It's a mindset shift. What I say to myself, it's no strings, no rings. Put that weight on myself. You see him buckle up. Yeah, I put that weight on my belt. I'm pushing plates now, betting real stakes now.
Just didn't need it. Just a piece that I'll put in there for you. But again, these are the these are the four that are going to get you 90% of the way of what you want. So yeah, that is the J. Cole template in a nutshell. Hopefully you learned a thing or two also about mixing. Don't forget, if you want to check it out, it's in the description below. But if you want to build it yourself, that's kind of how I would go about doing it. Make sure that you EQ your vocals first. Take out all the crappy stuff. You want to control them with a little bit of compression in the SSL channel or whatever compressor you're using. Maybe 3 to 6 negative dB. De-ess it. Make sure you catch some peaks. You get it to sound good with your regular compressor. Control any other control pieces you need to do. You make it sound good with the effects, and then make sure that there are no S's poking out at the end of the chain. So that's how we do it with J. Cole. Appreciate you tuning in as always. Check you on the next one. If you want to have another template made for an artist that you want, write it in the comments below, and I'll try to make these for you guys as the artists develop and albums drop out. So thanks again. Check you on the next one. Peace.